Because I'm sure you wouldn't have forgotten the deadly Ahmedabad airplane crash of Air India. Just 7 months after, during the operation of Air India flight AI-132 from London Heathrow to Bengaluru, the crew reported abnormal behavior of the left engine fuel control switch on the Boeing 7878 aircraft, after which Air India grounded this aircraft. Now, Times Now has accessed the report by the crew of the flight, which clearly states that during the engine start, the switch failed to remain in the run position on 2 attempts, moving towards cutoff, a malfunction that could, under specific conditions, lead to an inadvertent engine shutdown in the flight. Soon after, the airline confirmed that the matter has been formally communicated to the DGCA and issued a statement. In fact, what they've come out to say as far as this particular statement is concerned is that there's a possible defect on the fuel control switch of the Boeing 7878. They've grounded the aircraft to get pilots' concerns checked. The matter has been communicated to aviation regulator DGCA, and Air India checked the fuel control switches after DGCA's directive that came in last year. Viewers, last year Air India had announced that it had completed inspections of the fuel control switches on all its Boeing 787 and 737 aircraft after the Ahmedabad plane crash. Not to forget, according to a preliminary report released in July 2025 by AIB, the crash was caused by the loss of thrust in both the engines after the fuel control switches moved from run to cutoff position. The big question, were these inspections adequate, and who's accountable for such lapses? Now, viewers, way back in 2018, the FAA had issued an advisory flagging the potential disengagement of the fuel control switch locking feature on certain Boeing aircraft. It recommended that the operators of affected aircraft must check whether the fuel control switch can be moved between the 2 positions without lifting up the switch while the plane is grounded. This raises serious concerns that if the risk was flagged as way back in 2018, were these checks really being carried out rigorously or merely recorded?
You're watching the News Hour at 10, debate number 2 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
And for more on this, let's go right across to our guest. Joining us, Captain Amit Singh, aviation expert and founder of Safety Matters Foundation, is with us. We have Captain Surinder Singh, veteran Air Force pilot as well as airline pilot of a number of aircraft, is also a pilot trainer. We have J.S. Rawat, former Joint Director General of DGCA, with us as well. Let me come across to you first. Captain Amit Singh, why is this incident such an important one? From December 2018, we know what the FAA has said about the fuel switch locking mechanism of the 737 and 787. We know how after the Ahmedabad crash, the DGCA ordered Air India to check the same fuel switch locking mechanism. And in fact, in the preliminary report also, it was referred to as the move of the run to cutoff of the switch that led to the engine shutdown. In that light, how is this incident important? Explain it in layman terms to our viewers.
Well, as per the 2018 Directive Safety Information Bulletin, this was an improbable case. 737, some reports have happened, but could be linked to 787s. Despite that, Air India thought it was not important and it was only a recommendation, so they didn't carry it out. Safety being safety, it has to be proactive. Nevertheless, after the accident, the report said very clearly that they highlighted this issue. Despite that, Air India did not do any checks. They waited for DGCA to send out instructions to carry out the checks. Now, who is devising what kind of checks have to be done? It is ultimately Boeing telling you, or the OEM of the switch telling you what to do. You yourself do not have the capability of the independent evaluation of what the capability and the intrinsic complexity of this aircraft. So you are depending on Boeing for everything. And you know that Boeing has not been very open or transparent in the past. So despite that, you will continue to do that, what Boeing has said, and declare that everything is safe. Now, what was improbable has happened. The problem here is, as per safety management system, even something is improbable but has a catastrophic effect, it has to be treated seriously.
Right.
And at least the pilots should have been informed that if you see such a thing, report it, or there is a abnormal procedure for this.
Okay.
They do not have any communication.
Yeah. Let me bring in Mr. J.S. Rawat now on that note. Mr. J.S. Rawat, we were told repeatedly that in 2018 the issue was looked at. We were told that following the crash, once again this fuel switch locking mechanism has been looked at and that there is no issue with it. Why has this incident happened where the airline pilots are reporting exactly this, that there is a problem with the locking mechanism? And what's even more alarming, as a layman, is that the fact that it actually flew all the way from London to Bengaluru despite this fault.
Okay, as far as this accident is concerned, this switches were checked at the time what we have informed at the point of time when the accident has happened, that the switches were checked in 2018 as per the advisory. After that, after the accident also, the DGC has ordered again that it should be checked, and the check was carried out by Air India as per the direction from the DGC. So the thing is that they had carried out the checks on the switches.
No, in 2018 they said it's not mandatory, so we didn't carry it out.
It is not mandatory. Okay, but that's what we are informed that they have carried out. So we believe whatever is told to us. But after the accident, DGC has directed that it should be done immediately. So all the aircraft fleet was carried out and all the checks were carried out. Now the question is today that as you are mentioning that it has flown after the this fault was detected at London today. It has flown all the way to Bangalore. The circular will clearly say that whenever you find this kind of problem, switches has to be replaced at the earliest. So it doesn't say that it should be done immediately. So because this
even if it can lead to an engine shutdown.
That's what the circular says. It should be done at the earliest possible way.
But sir,
this is the on condition item. This is not going to have that. Basically, that mechanical feature has been disengaged in the switch. That's why it is not holding at that particular position.
But doesn't that have serious implications? We saw what has happened in the Ahmedabad crash. God forbid something like that happens and there is a mid-air engine shutdown.
So this is the thing that when the engine starts, it's not locking at that particular place. So it means that the aircraft will not start, and it is going that this engine will switch off. It's in the ground itself. But but when what I can understand, it is presumption only. When after 2 or 3 repeated attempts, that this switch must have been locked in the position.
Let me bring in Captain Surinder Singh. Captain Surinder Singh, we saw repeatedly people giving demonstrations how that fuel has to be, the fuel switch rather has to be picked up, it's spring loaded, it has to be turned and then it has to be removed below. But now this is exactly the problem that we were debating widely. Western media jumped to all the conclusions to blame the pilot on the basis of this. Naji, nothing is wrong. Nothing can go wrong with this fuel switch. Now, exactly that has happened in this particular case. And therefore, the serious question as to why they were all rushing in to blame the pilot on the basis of a small portion of the audio recording and, not even actually putting out the whole recording. All of that is going to raise some serious questions. I'm not jumping to any conclusions. But the point is, all the authorities, the investigators, the regulators, the airline, the manufacturer, all have to give an account to this.
I fully agree. We have to be brutally honest on this rather than just by denying or refuting the thing. This has happened and it is a problem. And okay, I agree that in 2018 they had, my first question is, with like Captain Amit Singh told that the kind of credibility which Boeing has got. And I absolutely, once they had an issue with the switch, why the OEM, first of all, did not take any corrective action rather than just issuing a circular. It is not a normal, ordinary switch. Those who have flown Airbus also or 787, the switch has, like we have seen, has to be lifted up rather than it is a grid and teeth mechanism. If something is a problem, actually speaking, the first OEM, Boeing, should have replaced the switch on some corrective action. Not done. Second, we had such a crash, a tragedy which happened. After that, what happened? Nothing, just a check on that. Still, there is no corrective action on this. And we all know, in heart of heart, what is the maintenance practices. I have spoken like 787, whether it is flying by Gulf or by Etihad or by by 787. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead. We can hear you. Go ahead.
I can hear something in the background actually.
Okay, I apologize. There must be some audio error there. I'll ask my team to fix that. Please go ahead.
Yeah, so whether it is Gulf or any country which is flying, there they don't find any problem with the switch. That is very interesting aspect. Why only in Air India?
Okay. So is there a question about our maintenance standards? Mr. Rawat can answer that. Yeah, Mr. Rawat can answer that. But Mr. Rawat, I also want to add to that 2 points. Now, we all know that there's a whistleblower report that has been submitted to the Senate. And that whistleblower report also talks about serious electrical faults that have been reported as far as the 787 and other aircraft are concerned. And in the case of Ahmedabad, we know that the RAM air turbine or the RAT had deployed. Now, why the RAT had deployed, we don't know. But there was obviously a possibility that there could be either electronic or some other failure. And could that potentially have led to the movement of the switch is also a question that many are asking. If the locking mechanism can physically fail, if something else can happen similarly, because they are all electronically controlled at the end of the day. Mr. Rawat.
No, this is basically when the switch is on condition item. As per the circular also, if it says that you have to check on the ground whether it is fixing or not, or it's not fixing. If it's not moving on its own, it means there is a switch mechanism feature has been disengaged. So that in that case, you have to change the switch as early as possible. Now, there may be other issues also, electrical failure and other things, whether the electrical failure is not related with this particular switch, because the switch is, this particular circular is about the engagement of the switch and holding of the switch at the particular position, either in the run position or the off position. So we should not jump to the electrical system and the mechanical system and this thing to put both the things together.
Okay, are we conflating two issues there? Captain Amit Singh, don't conflate the electrical failure with the mechanical failure. They are two completely separate issues, says Mr. Rawat. Your response?
It is about the safety culture and the practices, maintenance practices. How much is Boeing revealing to the Indian authorities, and what is our basically competence levels on the Boeing systems? AIB is not able to pinpoint the fault because it is a very complex machine and they are refusing to take any advice or help of any experts. They're carrying out a closed door investigation. So they are depending on whom? They're depending on Boeing. They're depending on Honeywell, who are making the fuel control switches. So do you think they will provide the correct information or credible information unless there is a cross-check or electrical experts come in or structure experts come in? So these experts have to come in and verify what information Boeing has given to them or the OEMs have given to them. So we are just playing with Boeing, who themselves are responsible, and in the criminal case of 737, they have settled an out-of-court settlement of billions of dollars. So that is a criminal case that they have settled.
Okay.
So
I want Mr. Rawat to come in on this. They have, of course, when it comes to Boeing, their track record is well known. I'm not going to get into that. Let Boeing come out and explain. But we as Indians have to be concerned about the quality of our investigation. And we can't have a situation, Mr. Rawat, where a similar jet that has crashed, the Lear jet, just yesterday they put out a statement 2 years later, 2 years and 3 months later, about how the investigation is in its final stages. If you have crash investigations that are going to take 2.5 years, 2 years, 3 months, so on and so forth, how are we going to learn? And where are we going to fix things?
Actually, any delayed investigation, if take more than the desired time, it's basically we are wasting our time, and we are defeating the purpose of the investigation, because the purpose of investigation is to understand whatever it has happened and how it can be prevented in the future. So any delayed investigation without a reasonable time is always defeating the purpose of the investigation. That's correct. But when we are talking about this accident, that accident of this thing, because every accident is happening because of special things. The matters are not connected with both there are different situations.
The specific subject domain experts are not being consulted.
Now the question is, who is the domain expert? The domain expert is from the engineering side only, who is working for the Air India and or working for the other organization, or who is handling with the 787 or any particular type of aircraft in that, for that matter.
Or are they trained investigators? Is there more data? Is there more infrastructure that's required? Many questions that remain, but we'll have to leave it there. Captain Amit Singh, Mr. J.S. Rawat, as well as Captain Surinder Singh, I'd like to thank all of you for joining us this evening. Certainly, a lot of room for answers. Many questions that emerge out of this incident. And all, the DGCA, the AIB, Air India itself that operates the aircraft, and Boeing that manufactures the aircraft. They all have a lot of answering to do because there were over 200 lives on board that particular aircraft. What could have happened potentially if there was something that happened, similar in terms of engine failure, so on and so forth, like we saw in Ahmedabad? We don't know. But certainly there are important questions. Answers have to be given at the earliest. Investigation reports have got to start coming on time, and the Ministry of Civil Aviation better start cracking the whip when it comes to safety standards, because this is an India that would not allow for any slack when it comes to safety. Thanks so much for joining us this evening.